This is You've Already Been Hacked, recorded on 17 October 2020. Okay, kicking things off this week as we head into the middle of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, we're going to look backwards again because we have a few updates on some stories we covered earlier this year. Carnival has officially announced and acknowledged that they had data theft from a ransomware attack. Now, we spoke about this weeks back, that in an SEC filing, it looked like they had. However, this past week, in a 10-Q form filed with the SEC, Carnival confirmed that the unknown ransomware gang was able to gain access to personal information of both customers and employees during the attack. The discovery was made during an investigation led by a major cybersecurity firm hired by Carnival following the incident. The company also notified data regulators and relevant law enforcement agencies. At this time, Carnival does not believe that the information that was taken will be misused going forward, or that the incident will have a material adverse effect on their business, operations, financial results. However, no assurances could be given by the company, and further, they may be subject to future attacks or instances that could have such a material adverse effect. Well, that's reassuring. In the next story, Adobe has finally released fixes to update 9 flaws in Magneto. A pair of critical vulnerabilities in Adobe's Magneto e-commerce platform could be exploited to gain read-write access to database or to execute arbitrary code. The flaws, along with 7 others of less severity, affect Magneto Commerce, which has a licensing fee, and Magneto Open Source, which does not. Adobe has released the updates to address the vulnerabilities. We talked about problems with Magneto earlier this year. Just a couple weeks old, the UHS hack made the Senate. In the wake of that ransomware, U.S. Senator Mark Warner wrote a letter to the CEO expressing grave concerns about the attack. Warner is seeing answers to a number of his questions, including a description of UHS's vulnerability management process, how various UHS networks are segmented and isolated, and whether the company has paid the ransom demand. Well, at least the senator has either an astute thing of what to ask himself, or his staff actually has done their homework. Either way, that's a win. Now on to topics that are a little bit newer. DHS has issued a threat assessment that reveals hackers targeted the US Census Bureau. So, in that assessment, it was shown that hackers targeted the Census Bureau computer networks several times over the past year. The information was disclosed in the threat assessment sometime last week. In addition to the threats posed to the U.S. democratic process, the cyber threat to the Homeland Security section of the report also addresses nation-state threats, cybercrime, and opportunities for cyber actors to have exploited COVID-19 related activities. The state-sponsored attackers that DHS identified are some of our usual suspects from the U.S. point of view. You have China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, and DHS says they will all continue to attempt attacks designated and designed to compromise or disrupt critical 2020 election infrastructure, as well as try to influence U.S. voter opinions and preferences. The report went on to state that while Russia, China, and Iran will also focus their attacks on cyber espionage efforts, North Korea, however, while sophisticated, probably will remain confined to criminal generation of revenue. CISA, the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, has issued an advisory warning that hackers have been using combinations of vulnerabilities in several virtual private networks, along with Windows Net logon vulnerabilities to gain access to government networks. The advisory went on to note that there have been some instances where the activity resulted in unauthorized access to elections support systems. However, the integrity of election data has not been compromised. The advisory outlines security steps that election officials can take to ensure their networks are protected. Microsoft, trickbot, and a new way to go after them. Microsoft, ESET, Black Lotus Labs, and Symantec have all worked together with the Financial Services Information Sharing and Analysis Center, or the FSISAC, run by DHS, to disrupt the trickbot botnet. The organizations sought out a court order allowing them to seize trickbot command and control servers. US Cyber Command also took steps to disrupt trickbot by sending out configuration files that cut off communications between the infected machines and the C2 servers. This action represents a new approach, not the Cybercom one per se, although we won't know for sure, the legal approach that Microsoft and the companies took, which was done for the first time. Our case, they went on to say, includes copyright claims against trickbot's malicious use of our software code. This approach is an important development in the efforts to stop the spread of malware, allowing the companies to take civil action to protect customers in the large number of countries around the world that have these types of laws in place. Well, it is 2020. I guess we were going to figure out an alternative to go after stuff eventually. German authorities have conducted raids in connection with Finfisher spyware. Earlier this month, German authorities searched 15 homes and businesses in connection to Finfisher, a German software company that makes surveillance tools and has been accused in the past of providing software to oppressive regimes. The raids took place earlier this month on the 6th and 8th of October and were ordered by the Munich Public Prosecutor's Office. The raids took place in Germany and Romania and are part of a year-long investigation that started in the summer of 2019. Signatories on the complaint include advocacy groups such as the Society for Freedom Rights, Reporters Without Borders, and the European Center for Constitutional and Human Rights. The German news agency Tagesschau, which first reported the raids this past week, claims Finfisher had been using satellite companies in other countries to evade Germany's stricter export restrictions on surveillance software. For those that may still have physical media, Barnes & Noble has been hit by a cyber attack. The bookseller disclosed a security breach that may have compromised customer data. In a statement from the company, they say, quote, "We have a serious network issue and are in the process of restoring our server backups." The attack reportedly occurred on the 10th of October. Since then, users of the Nook digital ebook and e-reader platform have said they have been unable to access their libraries of ebooks and periodical subscriptions. The company went on to say, quote, "It is with the greatest regret we inform you that we were made aware on October 10th, 2020, that Barnes & Noble had been the victim of a cybersecurity attack, which resulted in unauthorized and unlawful access to certain Barnes & Noble corporate systems." The company attempted to front-load questions by creating a fact page, and on the page, Barnes & Noble states that no payment data has been exposed, but they are unsure at this time if the hackers accessed other personal information. However, the company did admit that email addresses, billing addresses, shipping addresses, and purchase history were all exposed on the hacked systems. The cybersecurity firm BadPackets has told the media that Barnes & Noble previously had multiple Pulse VPN servers that were vulnerable to a very specific vulnerability. The vulnerability is popular among ransomware threat actors as it allows them to gain access to user credentials stored on the virtual private network device. The software company Software AG is recovering from a ransomware attack. German software company Software AG was hit with ransomware on the 3rd of October. The ransomware operators encrypted files and demanded more than $20 million US in return for the decryption key. Software AG attempted to negotiate with the attackers, but after communication broke down, the attackers published screenshots of what they say are data stolen from the company. Software AG says that the attack affected its internal network, but that customer services were not affected. Are we seeing a pattern this week? The ransomware looks similar to that which is used by the CLOP, C-L-O-P, ransomware gang. Software AG's customer list includes organizations from the government, banking, transportation, insurance, retail, and other industries. Some major corporate players are Airbus, Lufthansa, DHL, Telefonica, Credit Suisse, and Continental. Just a small sample of the 70% of the Fortune 1000 companies that use Software AG's products. In a drumbeat that hasn't gone away in many years, the nations of the Five Eyes Security Alliance, which includes Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the United States, and the UK, and in this instance for this story, Japan and India, have all called on technology companies to design their products so they can offer access to encrypted messages and content. In a joint international statement issued this past Sunday, the alliance said, quote, "We, the undersigned, support strong encryption, which plays a crucial role in protecting personal data, privacy, intellectual property, trade secrets, and cybersecurity. Encryption is an existential anchor of trust in the digital world, and we do not support counterproductive and dangerous approaches that would materially weaken or limit security systems." The statement went on to say it is not just the public that is at risk. Technology companies themselves may not be able to identify and respond to violations of their terms of service, or to respond to the most serious illegal content and activity on their platforms, including child sexual exploitation and abuse, as well as violent crime or terrorist propaganda and attack planning. The Alliance of 7 countries suggested that their ask for a way to access encrypted data could be done in one of the following 3 ways. Embed the safety of the public in system designs, thereby enabling companies to act against illegal content and activity effectively with no reduction to safety, and facilitating the investigation and prosecution of offenses and safeguarding the vulnerable. Enable law enforcement access to content in a readable and usable format where an authorization is legally issued, is necessary and appropriate, and is subject to strong safeguards and oversight. And in the 3rd bullet, engage in consultation with governments and other stakeholders to facilitate legal access in a way that is substantive and genuinely influences design decisions. Well, anytime that encryption, in my opinion, in your professor's opinion, anytime that encryption can be opened up by a third party means that that encryption, by design, is not strong enough to stop an unwanted party from opening up that encryption. That's all for the news this week. I'm your professor of cyber risk. We'll talk again soon.